Hey everybody, and welcome to Don't Copy That Floppy. I'm your host Lex.
I'm your other host Dan. We are your weekly video game news podcast here on Chipbit Radio at chipbit.net. Normally we broadcast Fridays 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but today, Sunday, June 25th, we are broadcasting from like 1:40 to 2:40 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. We'll be back on Friday.
You can find us on all sorts of social media, including Twitch and Twitter and Facebook and others. Search us there by searching it DCTF Podcast or Don't Copy That Floppy Podcast. You'll be able to find us. And you can check out things like show archives. You can check out the articles that we're going to talk about that week on the show. We post those to social media. And also check us out on our main site, chipbit.net. It's a good site. It's good stuff on it.
Also some chiptune music.
Yeah, it's great.
On the radio.
So what stories have we got this week, Dan?
We have a bunch of stories of companies and people being assholes.
Yeah, there's a lot
That's
of that.
pretty much everything we're talking about this week.
Just people being jerks.
It's almost entirely just like dickery, company dickery, personal dickery.
We're
all
getting
sorts of
into
stuff.
we're getting into the hot part of the summer, so maybe it's just people just making people angry.
People getting grumpy.
Yeah.
That's probably what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, first things first, we've got Konami.
Just when you thought that Konami didn't suck so much, or at least you had forgotten about how horrible Konami was, they're
Perhaps.
back with a vengeance.
So this story is from June 15th on PCMag.com, and it is apparently regarding Konami treating former employees poorly.
Huh.
What a shock
What
that
a
they would
shock.
do such a thing.
Now, we know that they were being jerks to Kojima in
Yes.
certain ways.
Yes.
But this is like a whole nother level of
Yes.
them being terrible.
So this is mostly based off of stuff reported by the Japanese newspaper Nikkei, which is reporting that Konami is actively blocking ex-employees from securing new employment and health care. The reason seemingly stemming back to Mr. Hideo Kojima. More specifically, a talk he appeared at in September with Sony at the Tokyo Game Show. By that point, he had already left Konami, and when asked about the next Metal Gear game, Metal Gear Survive, Kojima smugly said, "That has nothing to do with me." Which is the appropriate response, because that game looks stupid.
He then put on his drive jacket.
He then put on his drive jacket.
Skateboarded away,
And
probably.
skateboarded away. Konami was not happy about this comment, and they sent Kojima a letter saying that he was unfairly discrediting the company.
because
They're making a bad video game using his IP.
Yep.
And then there's unconfirmed reports that Konami isn't paying Kojima money he is owed. A Konami director is also thought to have blocked Kojima Productions' application to join the Health Insurance Society in that part of Japan to get their employees' health insurance. So, however, the chairman of that insurance company or insurance group is a Konami director.
Oh.
So there's some shady stuff going on here.
See, I was gonna say they don't own the insurance company. I mean, they own a lot of other things, but they don't
perhaps they do own the insurance company.
So this is a weird mix of them being hypersensitive and bitter,
Yes.
but also like political corruption, sort of.
Yeah.
Because they really shouldn't have the power to do that, but somehow they do.
Corporate corruption
Yeah.
in Japan? No.
No. That couldn't happen.
So pretty much all of this anger is directed not only at Kojima, but anybody else who left with him. So a lot of the people who left and formed Kojima Productions with Hideo Kojima.
Now, it makes sense that a lot of them left because we were getting reports about their last days working on Metal Gear, about how they were like cloistered off in another part of the company or another part of like the building.
Yep.
They didn't have access to the internet.
Nope.
It was weird and like not okay.
Yeah, they were not allowed to speak to Kojima.
Yeah, that was also a thing.
There was like this whole like they had to go through like a line of Konami agents, basically, to convey information between Kojima, who was directing Metal Gear Solid 5, and the staff who was, like, making it.
So when the game was over and he left, it made sense a lot of them left with him, because who would want to continue working in that kind of environment?
Exactly.
But apparently now, even though they left the company is still screwing them over.
Just, like, haranguing them nonstop.
By making it impossible for them to get health insurance and difficult for them to get hired other places. Like, you can't... I know that Konami's a big company, so I suppose they have the weight to throw around to do this, but, like, it's never okay for a big company to just blacklist people.
Yeah.
You can't, like, what the heck? That's not okay. That should be super illegal.
Yeah, but, I don't know. You gotta keep in mind, things are kind of different in corporate culture in Japan, too.
Totally.
And, like, the people who have been around for a long time and who have this clout can do that stuff.
Yeah.
And that's just because you've got the whole senpai, kohai, seniority social construct. So if you are not one of the senior members of Konami, then they can do whatever they want and push you around because you have not been there as long as them. You are not as valuable as them. You are not as experienced or important.
Now, one of the reasons why Kojima gets to come out more or less okay in this, although there's speculation that they're withholding money from him, which is not all right, but I think is because he has so many connections to Western devs.
Yes.
That if he wanted to, like if they completely blacklisted him in Japan, he could probably go to Microsoft and be like, hey guys, and they would probably be like, yeah, sure, come work for us.
Yeah,
you're a big name. Because he has that notoriety, but his random, like, programmer guys that worked under him that no one knows who they are, like those guys could easily get blacklisted and they're not going to get saved by having the sort of networking connections that he has.
Right.
So this is really much worse for them.
Yeah. Thankfully, a lot of them, at least, are employed at Kojima Productions.
Good thing.
And Sony, like, they're working under Sony now, and as a company, I'm assuming Sony will do their best to keep them safe in some way or another. Given that they are now technically Sony employees.
And Sony is a company that is bigger than Konami.
Yeah.
Probably by a significant margin considering all the other electronics that they make.
Yes.
So if anyone's going to have that kind of protection from another corporation trying to influence them, it would probably be a company like Sony.
It also seems like Konami's still just treating its internal employees who had nothing to do with Metal Gear and Hideo Kojima poorly, too. Because there's reports of them still limiting breaks, social media activities monitored, access to email is strictly limited still. Like, it's just a bad scene. Konami sucks.
Yep.
Do your best to not support them. Don't play pachinko.
Don't play pachinko.
I know that's easy for most of us in the West.
But if you're in Japan...
just don't play it.
Just don't play it. I mean, I'm sure there are companies besides Konami that make pachinko machines.
Oh, yeah, there are. Like, Sega makes them. Tons of people make them. They're lucrative. So, why not? How about Paradox Interactive? Do you know anything about Paradox? I forgot who they were until we saw this story.
I didn't forget who they were. I just, I get frustrated with their games. So Paradox Interactive makes grand strategy games. That is the genre term they have coined for their games, and it is very appropriate.
Europa Universalis.
Yeah, and Crusader Kings is another one.
Yep.
And their big thing is they'll like make... Like with Crusader Kings, or I think Europa works basically the same way, I'm pretty sure they're very similar games, is you have like a map of the area and it is super historically accurate.
Yeah.
So it has all the different like fiefdoms and allegiances and like ruling families and stuff that actually existed at that time. And then you basically pick one and then interact within that framework as the years progress and and it tries to sort of have history play out the way that it actually did, where all the people that aren't you will do what they did in real life back in the day.
Right.
And then you can sort of alter events by making different choices, which if you're a huge history buff must be like amazing.
It's like an RTS game for huge nerds.
Yes. No, actually it's turn-based.
Oh, is it turn-based?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's more like Civilization for huge nerds. And I've tried playing it because I think the Crusades are super interesting.
Yeah.
And I get super frustrated with their games and turn them off after a few hours because there's so many moving parts. That if you do like one thing wrong, you will like unless you're playing on a really easy setting or you're playing like a big empire within the game, you're just gonna get crushed.
Yeah.
So it gives me more of a respect for the people who were running fiefdoms in the Middle Ages. I'm like, oh, this guy's actually had like a lot of political stuff to deal with. Good for them making that work.
The issue I've actually always had with these games too is that they are presented very dryly.
Oh, they're super dry.
It is a map.
Mm-hmm.
You are looking at a map and arrows.
Yep.
And things. It's not like you get to zoom in on the battles like when you're playing like a Total War game and do cool stuff like that. It's numbers. And just like it's like a spreadsheet.
It's basically a spreadsheet.
Which, if you're into that, is totally fine.
Yeah.
Like some people really like that style of strategy, but for me, just like looking at it is just it ends up boring me really fast. That's why I've never really given one of them a shot.
But they're in the news recently in this past week because they did a thing that people are getting very upset about. That I actually don't entirely understand why people are getting that upset. But basically, they decided to increase prices on some of their titles in some foreign markets. I believe this is on Steam, but it was Steam users in like Brazil, I'm pretty sure, had their prices raised, and a couple other places as well. And people found out about this and got really, really upset and just basically review bombed Paradox's games. In response, the CEO of Paradox came out with a statement basically walking a lot of that stuff back, which we have in an article from Polygon from the 22nd.
Yes.
Let's see, what are we saying here? I have promised myself never to give in to a mob mentality.
This is what the CEO was saying.
Yes. Let's see, where he talks about how privileged he is to run the company, and he's run it from when it was only 7 people to 225 people. What does he actually... in this case, my change of stance has been made from communicating with people who have been active in our community for 10 plus years. People who have spent thousands of hours in our games, and coming to the conclusions you find above. So, yeah, a lot of hardcore longtime fans were upset about this.
Because the games have always been priced the same, basically, over these many, many years.
Now, I understand why fans would get upset about this.
Mm-hmm.
I think their initial statement, like before this guy got into it, they had an underling in the company put a statement out saying, hey, if we want to raise the price in certain markets, we have the authority to do that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, that's true.
Yeah, that is true. It actually, I don't know, I'm conflicted about this story. Because on the one hand, I understand that it's a jerk move for a company to be like, hey, let's just raise the prices of our products, because why not?
Yeah.
Why not? But on the other hand, they do have the right to do that, and you as the consumer can like review bomb them or just not buy their products.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know, like the whole situation seems weird to me. It's weird to me that they raised the prices because that seems like a greedy move just on its face.
Yeah.
But I also kind of like, I don't know, I think that I don't really have a problem with them doing that. And it's easy for me to say because I don't live in Brazil.
Right.
But even if they did that here, I'd just be like, oh, well. I guess
and you don't play grand strategy games.
I mean, I have Crusader Kings 2 and Europa Universalis 4, which I bought before on Steam sale. And I tried playing them, and I was horrible at them. Stopped playing.
But you're not really the fan base that's being affected by this either.
Yeah.
Regardless.
So it's a little weird. It's a strange thing and an interesting case of internet outrage. And I mean, this all started, I think actually in the middle of May they did this, but it wasn't really until the last couple weeks that people in North America noticed that they did that.
Right.
So considering the time between when the outrage started and when the CEO issued the statement was actually a pretty short period of time. So I'll give Paradox some credit for interacting and handling the situation as soon as people brought it up. There are other companies that aren't as good about that. Like the people that made that game that will not be named. It's only not named because I can't remember it. But it's that game...
Slaughtering Ground?
No, not that one. That's a different thing. I can't remember the name of it. It's the game with procedurally generated universes.
Oh, No Man's Sky?
That one, yeah.
Yeah, lack of communication.
Mm-hmm.
Right there.
So it's good that they communicate. I'll give them credit for that.
I guess there's another No Man's Sky update coming out soon.
Oh, good for that.
But, I don't know. Because nobody really seems to care anymore. So, yeah. Next we got some people who are angry about mods. So, we didn't talk about this
for the E3 stuff
when we talked about E3, but Bethesda announced something at E3 called the Creation Club, which is... I can't remember exactly how it works. It has to do with people being able to make mods and get paid for them?
Yes.
Yeah,
so,
it's a mod marketplace, essentially.
So it's both a marketplace and the way the system is supposed to work. And again, they're kind of vague on the details. I'm not actually sure if they've released more in-depth details yet, but I know at E3 they were pretty vague about it.
Yeah.
Which was the idea that creators who make mods would sign up to be an official creator with Bethesda, and then they would work with Bethesda and get access, I guess, to like certain assets and things,
right?
To create more mods that would go up for sale in the marketplace,
right?
Now, the initial backlash to this was everyone was like, "You can't. Paid mods are bad. We don't like paid mods." And it's sort of the same people who were mad when Steam tried to do this, specifically for Elder Scrolls Skyrim.
Right.
Because it does on its face look like the same thing, except instead of Steam doing it, it's directly Bethesda doing it.
Right.
But Steam's version had a lot of problems in terms of quality control. Where, I mean, at the time we talked about how someone who makes a mod can basically steal a bunch of coding work that other mod makers have done and put up for free, and then pass it off as their work by making a few minor adjustments, and then ask to get paid.
The example we had when Steam tried to do it was one of the first mods that went up on their Steam marketplace for it contained content made by people who had not approved of having their content be a part of it.
Yep, that happened.
Like multiple pieces of content. And it was just like a mod armor pack or something. But like several of the armor sets in that pack had been compiled by one guy from other people. And they had only gotten permission from like that one dude to like put it out. And everyone else was like, "Whoa, I made this and what?
Yeah, why are you selling it?
Excuse me?"
So that was obviously an issue. But I think that Bethesda's plan to go about this seems much more solid, where they're saying, like, you can't have existing mods go up on here, but if you want to sign up and be vetted by us and then work with us to make a mod, you can sell it for real money. And we'll promote it on a marketplace that we control.
Right.
I honestly think that's a really good way to go about this. Assuming Bethesda does their due diligence, and it seems like they are gonna, because that was like the cornerstone of this whole thing.
Right.
So I feel like this could actually be a way for this to work. And I'm kind of, I don't know. I'm
cautiously optimistic
about it. It's also the argument is that, we talked about this when we were talking about E3, the reason why we're not going to get another Elder Scrolls game is because people keep buying Skyrim.
Yep.
And one of the reasons why they keep buying Skyrim is because of all this mod content, and now it's available on consoles. Not all of it, but a great deal of it is available on consoles, so you have more reasons to keep playing. And that means that Bethesda really owes a great debt to these mod creators, because they're really the ones allowing Bethesda to keep reselling this game.
Yeah.
So for Bethesda to just be... So I think it's better that Bethesda does this to try to include the creators in the revenue that they're getting, Because otherwise, I feel like the alternative to continue doing what they have been doing and also continue to release Skyrim for versions is actually more douchey and underhanded.
Yeah.
But people are upset about this for varying reasons. I mean, there's the reason that they don't want paid mods, but there's also reasons that they don't think this is going to be implemented right, and those are more reasonable, I think. More reasonable arguments that are made. But only time will tell, because again, we don't really know all of the intricacies of how this is going to work.
We do not. I just can't, at this point, with how many times this has been attempted and screwed up by various companies, I just can't see this going well.
Yeah.
I can't see people, like, just accepting this one this time.
Like, even if the system works entirely, there still is going to be a backlash because people don't want to pay for mods.
Yeah,
do you think that's
pretty
gonna
much.
Happen?
Yeah. People are just not going to have it.
Mm.
That's my assumption.
I mean, that is always the tough thing with, especially with the stuff on the internet, where if you were giving people something for free, it's really hard to try to say, like, we're going to change things up, but you can still get this thing, but you have to pay for it.
But now you have to pay. Exactly.
Yeah. It's actually just like the story we just did on Paradox Interactive, where
they changed their prices after having like the same prices for so long.
And then people got really mad. And I'm like, but it's totally within their, sphere of influence to do that. So we get
the point where it's like a company says, well, we could do this, but really the question is, should we do this? And I think a lot of companies don't think out things like this as much as they probably should.
Yeah.
And a lot of companies, so when you're a company and you're developing something like this, you are developing it in a bubble, that bubble being your company, in which you say, hey, wouldn't this be a great idea? And other people say, wow, that could be a great idea. And everybody in your company comes together and you all develop it and come up with this great idea. And you're pitched to people and you're like, we're going to present this at E3 and it's going to be great. Everyone's going to be so excited because we've come up with such a cool idea. The problem is, everyone in your company, for the most part, is going to be in the same boat as far as, like, yeah, we should do this.
Yeah, because they've all got the same perspective.
They've all got the same perspective, exactly. And there's not enough perspective being put onto the people you're selling this to. Beyond the people, because there's always going to be people who are like, oh, cool, what a great idea. But nobody thinks about the other side of it, which is the long-standing, cynical fan base of video gaming, which exists. It clearly exists.
Yep.
They raised the price of Europa Universalis, and people lost their shit. And nobody at that company thought to say to themselves, hey, if we raise the prices on this, you think some people might lose their shit? Or they did say that, and someone was like, no, that's ridiculous. But it's not ridiculous. This happens all the time.
Yes.
You can't just write it off as ridiculous when we can look back through time and see this happening repeatedly.
If we've learned anything about the gaming community on the internet over the years,
they will get mad.
Yes, they will lose their shit at the drop of a hat.
Yep.
And sometimes they're totally justified, and sometimes they're not. But either way, they're going to do it.
Yeah. So you need, as a company, to anticipate that.
Yep.
And I think this Bethesda thing to me seems like, hey, look at this awesome idea. Isn't it great? And then once we find out more about it and they put it out, there will probably be a ton of people being like, no, this is bullshit. Screw you.
Yeah.
And who will have a super negative backlash to it.
I'm curious as if the idea of Bethesda or any company like that doing paid mods in the future would ever work. My theory is if they actually get their butts in gear and put out another Elder Scrolls game, if that launched with this system, maybe that, like, people would still be pissed about it, but it could actually work that way.
Maybe. The game would have to be good too.
Yeah. Because one of the things about the reason why I consider Skyrim good is mostly the mods.
Yeah.
Like, the base game I don't actually think is all that great.
The main story fucking sucks.
It's pretty bad.
It's like a joke.
Yeah.
The main story of Oblivion is better, and that's saying something.
Patrick Stewart saw you in his dreams.
He's not even in the game for very long.
He's just in the intro, and then he gets
They're
killed.
like, we got Patrick Stewart, and he's in the intro, and then he dies. They're like, but we got Sean Bean, and then you're like, yeah, you meet him twice. You meet him at the beginning of the story, and then at the end of the story, he turns into a dragon and kills himself. Spoiler alert for Oblivion. Game is stupid. Like, Bethesda needs to get their shit together with Elder Scrolls, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because, tons of people who are pretty hardcore about Elder Scrolls games love Morrowind. Mm-hmm. It's because it's awesome. You can do all sorts of shit in it. Awesome. It's really good. It's not perfect. The combat's terrible. And, like, the graphics are janky because it's old.
Yeah.
But you can do so much different crap in it. It's really cool. And all the people... There was a fucking interview with, like, Todd Howard where he said that, by all accounts, like, Morrowind is not a good game, and we were trying to distance ourselves from it.
What?
Because that wasn't... Like, that game is, like, a product of its time that we're not proud of anymore, and we want to do better things than that.
Why? Why would you say that?
Morrowind has so many more interesting things going on in it than Oblivion and Skyrim. It's got better writing, too. Like, I don't know what you're trying to do with Oblivion and Skyrim, because from so many standpoints, they are objectively worse. Beyond graphics and, like, core gameplay.
I think that... I assume that what he means is the idea that Morrowind is very complex in the way a lot of its systems work. Yeah. It has all these little bits and pieces and moving parts that a lot of people, when they play it, they don't even use.
Yeah.
Like the spell creation system. It's cool. I've never used it, but it's cool. And it's a lot of those little things that we see removed more and more
they're being
as we get further into
for lowest
common denominator audiences. Yeah.
So.
And that's disappointing because if your design philosophy if that's your design philosophy, then that bums me out.
Yes. Especially when you're making RPGs.
Yeah. And I understand why that's your design philosophy, because I think that's more... Yeah, it sells.
The bummer for me, I think, is mostly the writing. The fact that the writing has fallen off so hard. Mm-hmm. If you compare the main plot line of Morrowind to Oblivion, it's like comparing, like, The Lord of the Rings to... Lord of the Rings is pretty dry. I don't know. It's got problems with it. But for, like... Generally speaking, it's like comparing The Lord of the Rings to, like... What's some dumb fantasy book that sucks?
I don't read a lot of dumb fantasy. I only read good fantasy books.
I mean, I feel like I could say a bunch of things right now, but no matter what I say, somebody's going to get really mad. But I'm just going to say it. It's like comparing The Lord of the Rings to, like, Aragon or something.
Yeah.
Where Lord of the Rings was, like, revolutionary, had all these new ideas, is, like, pretty well written. It's complex. It's got this deep setting. It's got deep lore of its own. And Aragon is a story about a guy who rides a dragon and fights an evil king.
Yes.
Like, Aragon is very generic. And that's what Oblivion and Skyrim are.
But what about comparing it to the Aragon movie, Dan?
I have never seen that.
That has John Malkovich in it.
Does it?
I think it does. Yeah, I think he's the evil king.
That's weird.
It is. It's really weird. That's a bad movie. Let's move on.
Anyway. Stop watering down your shit. We don't want to pay for mods, Todd Howard.
Yeah, Jesus.
Todd Coward.
Speaking of mods... do you like GTA 5 mods? Of course you do.
Probably.
You could be Iron Man in it. There's some amazing GTA 5 mods.
I haven't looked into this.
I enjoy watching them on YouTube all the time because there's a whole string of different superhero ones. Like there's a Flash one that you could just run super fast and everything's really slow around you. You can hurl lightning bolts. It's amazing. And then there's the Iron Man one where you can do everything Iron Man can do. There's a Hulk one where you do everything Hulk can do. You can like pick up cars and throw them at people.
Oh.
It's amazing. But there's all sorts of different mods out there for GTA 5. And up until this past week, Rockstar, who makes GTA, had really been very outspokenly supportive of the mod community, which was great, in a similar way to the way Bethesda is most of the time.
Most of the time.
And that was really positive for a lot of people in the community. And then this past week, Take-Two Interactive, the publisher, I believe, decided that they didn't like mods and they were going to ban not only mods, but also mod tools. And
it's ridiculous.
It was just basically a blanket ban. So they banned the two most popular modding tools. One of them is called Open4, And the other one, I can't remember. It's in this article somewhere. We have an article from GameSpot, which was updated yesterday, but there's stuff from... I don't remember exactly when the story broke. I think it was earlier in the week. Yeah. But there's this other tool...
I'll try and find the other one, but...
that I can't remember the name of.
It's mostly open for, it seems like.
Yeah. So you can be Iron Man.
It's starting to rain outside.
I left my car windows open. I didn't think it was going to rain.
You need to go close your car windows.
Nah, it's only going to rain for like 10 minutes.
Okay. Your funeral.
I mean, to be a little off topic, there was a weekend recently where it downpoured for an entire day, and my driver's side car window was wide open, but I didn't know. So then I came back to my car on Monday, because I think it rained all day Saturday. I came back to my car on Monday, and I was like, oh, this window is open. Well, it's already all dried. Yeah, so the... what was I going to say? The other mod tool that I need to find the name of was actually made sense for them to ban, because this was a mod tool that was run by a company. I don't know where they were operating out of. I think it was the US, but they were operating out of somewhere, and it was one of those mod tools like the ones for, I think, Overwatch that we reported on in the past.
Oh, where you could cheat.
Where you could cheat, and where the company who created the tool, you had to pay them to cheat.
Oh, great.
So Take-Two Interactive said, you guys were banned, this tool is banned, but also, company that is making people pay for this tool, you have to take all that money you made and give it to charity. And I don't think we got a confirmation as to whether they actually did that. They said that they did that. I don't know if it actually happened or not.
Right.
But I'm like, man, Take-Two... I give Take-Two props for that. That's pretty sweet, actually.
Yeah, that's cool. It's
too
bad about the other thing.
But, yeah, it's just bad about Open 4, because Open 4 is a mod tool where, yes, you can use it to cheat.
Yeah.
But the majority of people don't use it for that.
No, they just use it to do fun stuff.
Yes. And Rockstar has gone to Take-Two Interactive this past week and talked to them about it and said, hey, would it be cool if you laid off Open 4, at least for single player?
Yeah.
So hopefully that's what's going to happen. The story is still sort of developing on that front. We just know that now Rockstar and Take-Two are butting heads about it.
Yeah.
But apparently what's happening is hopefully if this all works out, then Open 4 will be totally usable to people who are just playing single player and not using the online component, and then you just can't have mod tools in use online anymore, which was already something that was discouraged, and usually the people using mod tools online were using it to mess with other players anyway and just cheat. So that's just as well. So I'm hoping this all works out. I'm glad that Rockstar came to the defense of reasonable mods.
I am glad about that as well. It's weird to see a publisher just decide, hey, we're going to just do this.
Especially at this juncture.
Yeah.
Right? That's kind of odd.
Well, it's also you're totally shooting your player base in the foot. This comes off as very much a legal team thing of well, we don't know what this stuff is, but cheating, I guess. Just get rid of all of it.
Just get rid of it.
And completely not understanding the player base of your game and why they might want these things. So, I don't know. So yeah, Rockstar's been yelling at them to cut it out. Hey, new update on the Overwatch. So the patch for Overwatch came out this past week, actually. The newest patch that buffed my boy Reaper.
Nice.
Buffed McCree a little bit.
Nice.
Gave Roadhog some balance changes that most people are calling a nerf, but he's not actually that much weaker than people are being drama queens.
It turns out the game community is flipping out about something.
Yeah, go figure. He can't one-shot people as easily anymore, which is whatever. It's fine. So, those came out. It also added the new map, the Horizon Lunar Colony. It's a pretty fun map. I played on it a bunch. And they have now put up a new PTR patch that does one big thing in particular, which is overhauling the loot box system. loot boxes are now allegedly going to be producing fewer duplicate items. A lot of people, especially during the last event, were complaining that they were getting tons and tons of duplicates. I know I was getting quite a few duplicates. And the nice thing that they have said is not only are they going to be reducing the amount of duplicates you're getting, but so in the past, the main way you got credits that you could use to like buy whatever cosmetic items you wanted was by getting duplicate items. You'd get a duplicate voice line, you get like 5 credits. You get a duplicate skin and you get like 15 credits. Something like that. So that would add up, and then you could spend those credits on other stuff that you specifically wanted. So the downside, I heard this, that they were going to be reducing duplicates, and I was like, oh, that sounds good on the surface, but that means people aren't going to be getting as many credits. So, like, is this just kind of a secret change and they're hoping nobody notices? But it's not. Because Jeff Kaplan said, hey, we're going to be changing it so you get fewer duplicates, but we're also going to be increasing the number of credits you get from duplicates. So you should be getting about the same amount of credits as you have been already. And I was like, oh, good. That's good. They avoided that shit show. So there's that. They're also overhauling the highlights system, which basically, when you're playing a game, it will, and you do like something cool, basically you do something that could potentially be play of the game. Regardless of whether or not it is play of the game, it gets saved to your account as a highlight.
Oh, nice.
You have up to 5 highlights saved at a time, but they go away when you like log off or something. But you can rewatch them. The sad thing is that that's all you could really do, is you could rewatch yourself being cool like, until you logged off.
It's just a sad, lonely existence.
Just a sad, lonely existence. But now, they're retaining the top 5 setup for your highlights, but they'll be kept for 24 hours. And you can also manually tag moments during a match to save as highlights, should you want to. Like, make sure something specifically gets saved. You'll also be able to save the videos permanently if you choose to, and more easily send them to your friends and things like that. So that's a neat little like quality of life thing, if you want to share cool stuff with your friends. Then they just made some other changes to like custom game browser and interface, and some minor hero bug fixes and map bug fixes, but nothing particularly notable. No big hero changes or new hero updates or things like that. Although we'll probably be getting news about a new hero soon, because Orisa came out back in like February or early March.
We gotta get Doomfist. Where's Doomfist at?
We're gonna get Doomfist. He's not gonna be what we think he's gonna be, I don't think.
Is he gonna be... Did you see that meme about Beyond Good and Evil 2, where it showed the monkey character
guy?
It said Doomfist confirmed?
I mean, that might not be wrong. I've seen like fan art of like a chimpanzee with like the Doomfist and stuff, because there's all the hints of like the other primate who escaped from the lunar colony, like Winston. So we'll see. In a small side note to that, they released all of the super secret gameplay demo stuff that they did of Beyond Good and Evil 2 at E3. Oh yeah, I saw that, but I didn't have a chance to check it out.
It looks pretty good. Man, that is a massive open world game.
Is it very ambitious?
It looks very ambitious,
That gives me pause.
Yeah, but we know it's still going to be a long time before it comes out.
So I never played Beyond Good and Evil, but everything I've been seeing says that this game doesn't look like Beyond Good and Evil at all. Besides, like, animal people.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's kind of weird.
But yeah, so... also, I found the article, small update to the last story we did about Take-Two Interactive and Rockstar GTA stuff. There were 3 services that were hacking services called Lexicon, Force Hacks, and Menyo.
Okay.
And they were all shut down, and their social media accounts were deactivated.
Oh.
And then they released a statement saying, okay, Take-Two told us to contribute all our money to a charity, that's what we're doing. Sorry, we're going away. Because Take-Two threatened serious legal action against us.
So bye.
But yeah, so not only has Overwatch gotten updates and stuff, but Hearthstone is getting some similar updates.
Yes.
Now, Hearthstone doesn't have loot boxes, but they have packs, which kind of
the same thing.
Yeah, it boils down to the same thing. And they're instituting a similar policy where it's a little harder to get duplicates. Specifically, you cannot get duplicates of legendary cards. Now, this is a big deal because you can only have one legendary card in a deck anyway.
So getting a dupe is completely pointless.
Yeah, completely pointless. You just have to immediately break it down for crafting material. You get a lot of crafting material from it.
I mean, you should.
Yeah, but the way crafting material breakdowns work in that game is you're gonna get half. It's like you however hardcore the card is, you're going to get half of what it would cost to craft it when you break it down into crafting materials.
Right.
So basically, if people got dupe legendaries, they would be like, well, I can craft a couple of worse cards, I guess.
Or save it to craft a legendary at some point.
Yeah. But I certainly can't immediately craft a replacement legendary.
Right.
Now the way it works is, if you get a legendary in a pack, you can immediately... it's not going to be the same as any of the ones you already have. Also, legendaries are going to be easier to get. So you're guaranteed to get a legendary in the first 10 packs of a new expansion that you buy.
That's interesting.
And all of these... that might not technically make it easier to get legendaries. It's just quicker and easier to get your initial legendary.
Right.
And then going forward after that, it's not necessarily any easier to get them.
But at the very least, you'll get something.
Yeah, so that's all sounds pretty good. And all of these policies are going to be instituted when the next set comes out. And the fact that they're talking about them now makes me think the next set is going to come out sooner rather than later.
Probably.
Because
they've been
otherwise,
putting out sets pretty fast.
They have been. I just assumed, like when this most recent set came out, I assumed that it was going to be an adventure. I thought we were due for an adventure before we were due for another set. And now that they're talking about changes they're going to make in the next set, makes me think we're going to see another new set before we see another adventure.
Perhaps.
Which also just kind of weirds me out because I think that's like different than the schedule they had been doing up to that point.
Right.
They also made a big change recently that I have loved, which is that in the past when you had quests to gain gold, you had to, the only way you could complete them was through playing random strangers in like either ranked mode or casual mode online. But and there was like one or two quests that said like, hey, if you challenge a friend, you'll get gold. They changed that recently, so now you can complete any quest by playing with a friend. So it's way easier to make like goofy fun decks that are just built to complete the quest, like play like a bunch of Murlocs or play a bunch of shield minions
and
or
just
something.
have fun like silly games with your friends.
Yeah. So that's like way
nice.
easier now, and it's so much easier to get gold, and it's amazing.
Yeah. Very cool. I haven't played Hearthstone in forever.
Well, now it's way easier to get gold.
So, who else is being a jerk? Now that we talked about Blizzard not being jerks.
Oh, no.
Sony's being jerks. They really don't want to do crossplay with Xbone and Nintendo Switch.
Now, when we were talking about, I think, Monster Hunter, right? When they announced Monster Hunter on the PS4, you were really worried about no crossplay because you want to be able to play with your wife.
But this also doesn't make sense to me. Because they're like, we're never going to do crossplay. We don't want to do crossplay with the Switch or the Xbox One or whatever. But Street Fighter 4 has PS4 PC crossplay. Like, that game has it.
Yep.
So why don't other games get it?
Yep.
And that still makes me think, is Monster Hunter still going to have it because it is also a Capcom game?
Yeah. That actually is a good argument for why it would still have it.
Like, at least PS4 PC? But not Xbone and Switch? Because I don't give a crap if it can crossplay with the Xbox One.
Yeah.
Nobody who plays Monster Hunter on the Xbox One is going to be any good at it. Because they've never had those games before. I don't want to play with those people.
Stereotyping.
Hey, whatever.
A lot of their reasoning for why they won't do crossplay is very weird and doesn't make sense. Their statements have been like, quality control.
The real answer is that they want to force people to buy it on their system.
Yes. Which is too bad because, it's too bad because they can kind of get away with doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows that the PS4 is outselling all the other systems. I read an article earlier about how the PS4 is, as of last month, outselling the Switch again.
Yep.
Which part of that is just because this Nintendo can't manage to ship any units. So
allegedly, Apple is actually buying up a lot of the components that Nintendo needs to make the Switch. And it's part
the
part
memories components or something.
And that's part of the shortage.
Yeah.
Is that Apple keeps buying everything. So fuck off, Apple!
We know you don't make your iPhones.
iPhones and iPads are stupid and shitty. Mm-hmm. Fuck off. Make a Switch. Yeah, fuck that pad you're holding. Speaking of Nintendo Switch, my wife bought one at Target the other day.
Oh, really?
We don't have any games for it, but we have it.
Well, there's only one game for it, so...
But she bought it because...
And you already have that game on the Wii, so...
She bought it because it's so hard to find.
That was a good plan.
Is the thing.
Yeah.
So we just have it now, because we were going to buy it eventually anyway. Yeah. She went to Target, and they had just gotten in one.
Boy, that's lucky.
She went and asked, and they were like, oh, we got one in shipment today. When's the last time you've seen them? It's been a while. So she was like, I'll take it.
There was actually a sort of positive story about that, where Nintendo issued an apology.
Yeah.
They talked about why there was the shortage of supply.
Yes.
And they talked about how, at least going into the holiday season, and definitely next year, they're going to make a concerted effort to get a lot more copies.
Well, hopefully. I mean, they have a lot of games coming out in the holiday season, too.
Yeah, so they freaking better get some more Switches out in the wild.
You got your Mario coming out.
Your Mario Odyssey.
Mario Odyssey, which looks great.
It does look really good.
It looks really good.
But yeah, so hopefully Sony will get off their butts and allow some crossplay, but they're not...
I just want PC PS4 crossplay on Monster Hunter. I don't care about the Xbox.
Yeah.
I don't care about anything else. I just want PC PS4. Please. That's it. But Capcom already has servers for that.
Mm-hmm.
That they're using for Street Fighter. So just do it.
Oh my god.
It also seems weird because Monster Hunter is a game that has historically done much better in Japan than it has in the West. That's why it's always ended up being on handhelds, because that's where the market for it in Japan is.
Mm-hmm.
But now, they've said multiple times, Monster Hunter World is a Monster Hunter game that we are pushing in the West. We want this game to take off in the West. That's why it's console exclusive. Because they have Double Cross in Japan, and everyone's going to buy it. And now it's coming out on the Switch, and everyone's going to buy it on the Switch in Japan. So they're golden with that. They haven't said if Double Cross is coming to the West. I doubt it is, because World is. And they don't want to confuse people or have people buy Double Cross and then decide they don't need World. World's coming out on the Xbox. Because people in the West own Xboxes. People in Japan do not. It's coming out on PS4 because it's a popular system and Sony's the ones paying for this, it seems like, in a lot of ways. And it's coming out on the PC because why the hell not? I think that's flat out the reason they said, was why the hell not. And I guess there's some deal they had with Sony that it can only not come out on Nintendo systems. So Capcom was like, well, I guess we'll put it out on Xbox and PC as well. But Sony, if they're trying to push this game so hard in the West, they are only shooting themselves in the foot by not offering crossplay.
Yep.
Because this game is a niche title. I don't care how hard they push World for its Western release, it is a niche title. This is not a game that is going to take off with everyone no matter what you do. It's just not that sort of game. So, and I mean, I guess you could say that about Dark Souls or something, and that took off and did incredibly well over here, but I maintain that Monster Hunter is just still not that kind of game. Mm-hmm. It's not going to draw the huge crowd you would want it to. And as a result, you've got to maximize your player base. This is a cooperative experience.
Yep.
This game at high levels is meant to be played with 3 other people. If you are not allowing people to do that, you are only harming yourself. Because sure, a bunch of people might buy it on PS4, but what about the people who buy it on Xbox? Are they going to be playing with 100 people total as a player pool? I know that's being dramatic, but I'm serious.
No, that definitely kills games. I mean, we saw...
And PC is the same way. Or are people going to gravitate towards this on the PC more than the PS4?
Yeah.
because perhaps they've been playing Monster Hunter on Nintendo all this time and they do have a gaming PC as well, but they don't have a PS4, they're going to get it on the PC because they don't want to buy a PS4 for it.
And that was the downfall of Battleborn, right? Not that it had a crossplay component, but that the player base was so small that even though I think after some updates and stuff, people were like, "Oh, this game's pretty good." No one was on there to play with, so nobody played it, and it died.
Yes.
Although it actually might still exist somewhere out there, but no one cares.
No.
So it is really important when you have a game that has a strong multiplayer component to maximize your player base.
Yeah.
In terms of the game that we know is not going to have cross-platform play, from this article, it's Rocket League.
Minecraft.
And Minecraft. I meant to mention that at the beginning of the article, but I totally forgot. And we know that because when people were asking the Rocket League people about crossplay, because they were announcing Rocket League on Switch, which is a good game to bring to the Switch, they were asking about the crossplay at E3, and the guys were just like, "Oh, well, there's a lot of people and moving parts that need to be considered for that, so we don't have any plans for it right now."
Yeah.
Which, basically tells you that Sony is not being cooperative.
Yeah.
So hopefully Sony will get their act together.
Hopefully.
Jesus. Sony, just take all your shit and just put it in a box.
I am annoyed that nobody has asked anybody relevant about Monster Hunter crossplay. Because they announced, it's gonna have cross-regional play between the West and Japan. You're gonna be able to play on servers with Japanese people. First of all, cool, but no one's gonna be able to freaking talk to each other.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, that's neat, but it's not exactly a good solution to the other problems.
It encourages Westerners to learn Japanese. That's good.
Yeah, sure.
It encourages people to be bilingual.
So there's that. But on top of that, it's nobody in any of these interviews has said, okay, it has cross-region play. What about cross-platform play? I've not seen this asked once in any official interview with Capcom or the guys making Monster Hunter. And I'm assuming that that's because all their interview questions are pre-written and they're not allowed to deviate from that at all.
Probably.
But it's annoying that it has not been said in any capacity. And I have a bad feeling we're not even going to know until the game is almost out. If we find out at all.
Just another failing of games journalism.
Just ask somebody.
I know.
Can we at least get a non-response? We don't even have we're not sure. We can't comment on that for now. We don't even have that. I would take that over nothing.
Yeah, we wouldn't. I don't think we'd even know about Rocket League unless someone directly asked the Rocket League guy about it. Because they didn't ask Sony, they asked the Rocket League guy.
Can somebody just freaking ask the director of Monster Hunter, hey, does this have cross-platform play between PS4, PC, Xbox One, or any permutation thereof?
Yeah.
And even if he just says, we can't comment on that right now, fine.
This says something.
I just want to know. And I feel I even Google this question and there's no one online even asking this question. Nobody else seems to give a shit.
The fan base is too niche, Dan.
The fan base is too niche, and all everybody's doing is bitching about how it's not a Nintendo. Hey, fuck you! How do you think I felt when I was playing all these games on PSP for all these years, and they're like, oh, now it's coming out on Nintendo? Eat shit. You can complain all you want, but I already been through this before. All you fucking Monster Hunter diehards ain't been playing it since 2004 like me, so shut up. Yes, I'm mad. Not about the game, though. The game itself actually looks great.
Yeah, it does look really good.
I want to stress that I think Monster Hunter World actually looks super fantastic. After watching the 25-minute gameplay demo they streamed.
I have dubbed that new monster the Snootosaurus.
He's great.
I
love him. He sniffs everybody. Gonna come sniff you. You gotta find his boogers. That's how you track him.
Gross.
He rubs his boogers on everything.
Of course he does. Snootosaurus. So, let's get into our last story. Yes, last story. About some drums.
There's not really an article about this yet. So we have this Total Biscuit video, and I'll just leave it frozen here. I'm not gonna play Total Biscuit's content through our Twitch stream.
Yeah, you can go check out Total Biscuit's video on it.
Yeah, just go watch it on his channel.
But this is news that broke yesterday, I think. The 24th, right? Yeah, the 24th, Saturday 24th. dealing with a game called Starr Mazer, which I didn't realize it when I was reading or when I was watching the videos about this, but we had talked about Starr Mazer quite a bit because it was a successful Kickstarter project that we had been really excited about. And is apparently out now, which I did not know, but I have to go buy that. Maybe it's on Steam Summer Sale. Steam Summer Sale is going on right now. Side note.
Oh yeah, it is.
But yeah, so Starr Mazer, and when they made Starr Mazer, they obviously had a musician do music for it, as with most video games. For Starr Mazer, which, in case you can't see, is a pixel art 2D shmup, but it also has some pixel art adventure game elements to it.
Yes.
They went with a chiptune artist, as would make sense. A person by the name of Alex Maurer.
Yeah.
And Alex Maurer, did their music, and then apparently recently on Maurer's social media, they posted about, or maybe not, I think definitely their website, maybe also their social media, they posted about how they were really mad at the devs of Starr Mazer because they were not getting full payment for the music that they did. There had been no contract put in place. A couple of other gripes about unprofessionalism on the part of the devs. These are not unreasonable concerns to have. And when people first read that, not many people read it, but a couple people read it, and they were like, oh no. And then, apparently, over the next week or so, Maurer was arguing with the Starr Mazer devs and did not get anywhere, we assume, because as of like Friday and Saturday, or some point over this past week, I think it was around Friday, they issued DMCA, I think that's the acronym, takedown notices for any YouTube video that had Starr Mazer content in it. And their reasoning was, well, it's my music, and I didn't give you permission to use it in your video, so you have to have this copyright strike against you. And this was a very big deal for YouTubers, because if you get, I think it's like 2 or 3 copyright strikes of these capacity, you can have your channel just disabled.
Yeah, it's pretty serious.
So a bunch of the YouTubers reached out to Maurer and said, hey, we're really sorry, we didn't realize, what can we do to get our videos back up? And Maurer said, oh, I know what you can do to get your videos back up. You can put out other videos in which you talk about how the Starr Mazer devs are bad people.
So I am blackmailing you into smearing a developer.
Yes, that I have a beef with.
That
at the time no one knew was justified or not.
Yeah.
And the YouTubers all basically, to their credit, said, no, we're not doing that.
Yes.
So Maurer was like, fine, your videos don't get to go back up. Maurer then continued to do takedown notices on some other videos that they had done music for that weren't even through the same dev, which is weird. Including,
it strikes me as somebody just completely losing it and throwing a big tantrum.
Oh, yeah. And one of them was this duck game. I forget the name. It was Duck something was the name of it.
Game?
It might be Duck Game. I don't know.
This is the game known as Duck Game?
But apparently it's made by a subsidiary of Turner Broadcasting.
Okay.
And so they issued a takedown notice to Turner Broadcasting.
Which is just crazy.
Yeah, Turner Broadcasting, you don't want to piss off like a big company like that with frivolous claims, because they will send lawyers after you.
Yeah.
So that was stupid, and we'll see if something comes of that, which would be kind of just desserts, because we found out that Maurer was actually totally in the wrong in this, as is really no surprise after hearing about their coercion attempt.
Yeah.
But the devs of Starr Mazer released the contract that Maurer signed.
Terrific.
Saying, hey, look at this thing where Maurer signed this contract saying that they were commissioned to do work for hire, and once they did it, we owned it, and they didn't.
What a shock.
Now, we don't know 100% if the Starr Mazer devs were withholding some final payment on the music or not. Maybe they were.
Maybe they were.
That's possible. But as of right now, there is zero evidence to that effect, but there is lots of evidence that Maurer has no copyright claim over this music, and is just issuing frivolous takedown claims that are hurting people's YouTube channels.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why Total Biscuit stepped in. Sid Alpha was another person who stepped in, did a video on this, and then this morning Jim Sterling released a video on this, because those are all people that are very into the Let's Play YouTube community and really care when bad stuff happens to these people and want to make it known.
Mm-hmm. And they've all gotten frequently involved in specifically like copyright issues.
Yes.
Like this. So it makes sense that they've decided to comment.
So this was...
I'm sure we'll hear more about this going forward through this week, because this only like just happened.
Yeah, what was interesting is I think as of this morning, all of Mauer's social media was just scrubbed. Like their... Oh, another thing they did, I forgot to mention, during their tantrum about this when they were issuing the takedown claims, on their Bandcamp page, because they have one for their music that they do for themselves, they took all of the music they had written for Starr Mazer and put it up on their Bandcamp page for sale for $1,000.
Interesting.
Which seems, again, to go towards that childish tantrum point. So as of, I think this morning, they disabled their entire Bandcamp page. You can't go to it anymore. They scrubbed all their social media. They effectively removed themselves from the internet. Now, you could still look them up on the internet because they're still a video game composer that has credits on a bunch of different games. So if you Google them, who they are and what they do will come up. But you can't find them on any social media anymore. Not any stuff that they ran.
And no, this completely comes off as somebody saying, "Oh, they didn't do the thing I wanted them to do, so screw them. I'm going to do this. I'm going to copyright strike them, and they won't be able to do nothing about it. I'm going to get all these other people on my side. I'll show them." Mm-hmm. And then it doesn't pan out, so you're like, "Oh, forget everybody. You all suck. I'm going to get rid of all my social media. I don't want to talk to anyone. No one can talk to me anymore." Like, it comes off as this complete childish, like, shitstorm of action. Like, everybody knows somebody who's gotten super pissed off about something and, like, just tried to completely cut themselves out of a group. Like, everyone's known a friend who's been like, "Screw all you all suck," and has, like, refused to talk to anybody for a period of time. And has just been an asshole completely for, like, a week because of stuff like this. And, but this is that on, like, a super large scale. Because after this, like, good luck getting work again.
Yeah, Alex Mauer, like, I hope you said goodbye to your career writing video game music, because no one will hire you.
No one's gonna freaking hire you now.
It's just...
Like, you've gone so overboard.
It was so obviously childish.
Just talk to people. Don't just do this. Like, Christ.
And I mean, so the best case scenario for Mauer right now is that they're just never going to write video game music again. Worst case scenario
is that Turner Broadcasting sues the shit out of them.
Or one of the other YouTubers who they issued takedown claims, like, could actually bring them to court over this.
Yeah. Then hopefully they will be the bigger people and just not do that.
Yeah. And most of the time, you know, these little YouTubers, they don't have the power to do that.
Yeah. Or the desire even.
Or the desire to do that.
Majority of the time.
But yeah, like, they would have a solid legal argument, assuming all of the documents that the Starr Mazer dev released were on the up and up. So
we will see.
We'll see. Mauer,
I'm actually kind of curious to see where this goes.
You goofed. You goofed real bad.
I goofed super bad. Video games came out. Video games are coming out. ARMS came out last Friday. Dead by Daylight came out on PS4 and Xbox One. The FF7 expansion, Stormblood. Not FF7, what am I talking about? FF14 MMO expansion, Stormblood, came out on Windows, Mac, and PS4. This past Friday. My dates are all screwed up. Ever Oasis came out on the 3DS. My wife's been playing that. It seems pretty cool.
Nice.
Nice little DS RPG. If you're into that kind of thing. Coming up soon. Nothing I'm interested in.
But World Golf Club 2 is coming out.
And Valkyria Revolution, the Valkyria Chronicles game no one wants. Except everybody who wants it.
Oh, no.
I played Valkyria Chronicles 1. That game was great and had a really cool, like, art style and setup to it, and then they just turned it into anime. And I was really bummed out.
But you love anime!
Yeah, but I also loved what Valkyria Chronicles started as. Which still was anime, but not as, like... It was anime, but it wasn't, like...
Anime.
And now it's the bad one.
All right. Well, yeah. So we're in kind of a summer drought here for games, but hopefully
there's going to be some stuff in July.
Yeah, hopefully next week we'll have some stuff to talk about.
There's going to be a lot of stuff starting in August too. We're going to be back into the thick of it.
Nice.
Big releases. So, thank you all for listening.
If you want to support the show, if you like it and want to support it, you can go onto iTunes and leave us a positive review. We'd greatly appreciate it. Or if you've got a whole lot of money to throw around, you can donate to our Patreon page. You can get cool rewards like the ability to vote on stories every week and
indeed.
A bunch of other cool stuff. But yeah, thanks for listening.
Yeah. We will be back on Friday. What is this coming
The 30th.
The 30th
Yep.
of June, the last day of June. From 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Chip 8 Radio, as well as on Twitch. We'll be talking all about what happens in this upcoming 5 days ahead of us, including, hopefully, some more stuff about this Alex Mauer story. Oh, the drama, the tasty, tasty drama. But until then, thank you for listening, and remember,
Don't copy that floppy.